Hi, thanks for tuning into this sharing. Self-Care 101, what is self-care and how to start? My name is Amanda. I'm a clinical psychologist at Naluri, and I will be sharing all about self-care with you, the good, the bad, and the completely necessary parts of it. Let's begin. What is self-care? Seems pretty easy to understand. It's taking care of yourself. While this does explain what it is in a nutshell, self-care is a choice to provide the care we need for ourselves in different ways, situations, and even when we don't feel like it. Similar to a caregiver or parent taking care of a child and providing the necessary tools for healthy development of their skills, taking care of ourselves is listening to ourselves and what we're missing and filling that void with healthy habits. We learn so much from the caregivers in our lives as children, be it our grandparents, parents, siblings, teachers, you name it. Through their care, we learn how to treat ourselves and how to live independently and responsibly, how to navigate life, and how to respond in any circumstance. If we learn to resort to unhealthy habits, that's what we do. If we learned healthy habits, that's what we will use. Many of us may not have learned the healthier options of being independent or coping with emotions. Many of us have vices like alcohol, smoking, retail therapy or excessive spending, gambling, anger issues, or even isolating from others when we need social support the most. Taking care of ourselves now can teach us how to rely on healthy habits and change our lives for the better. Through self-care, we can reap the benefits, sometimes immediately, but almost always there is a better, healthier future for us. Studies have shown that purposefully taking care of yourself leads to better overall physical health, mental health and well-being, better stress management and resilience to difficulties, higher self-esteem and self-confidence, and better interpersonal relationships. Sounds great, right? We can all achieve this if we only start with a small change today. Now, before we talk about what to start with, I need to address the elephant in the room. There are many misconceptions about self-care, which turns many people away from the idea of starting it. Let's clear the confusion. Self-care is not self-indulgence. It does not only focus on lavishly spending money on yourself to feel good, nor is it only through pampering yourself. In fact, self-care also involves planning your finances, and most self-care activities are actually free. So it is completely free to start taking care of yourself today. Self-care also is not going overboard with aesthetic cafes, bubble baths, and taking breaks more than you need to. A big part of self-care is figuring out what you need to thrive, which means you may need to reduce some of the excessive time or effort you're spending on some current activities. Retail therapy is not actually therapy. While it feels good to purchase something to brighten your day, you are left with crazy bills and a bleak outlook on managing your emotions and finances. Self-care is making sure that you don't harm yourself or your future. Which is why it is important to know about balance in self-care. The two big areas of self-care are responsibility and pleasure. A lot of people know about pleasure, which does feel good, but too much pleasure would tip the scales and leave you neglecting your responsibilities. Responsibilities include things you may already be doing, such as house chores, making sure you have a comfortable and clean environment, medical and dental appointments that we may be skipping, showing up for work, working on your procrastination so you don't miss deadlines, or even creating a monthly financial budget for yourself. If you can balance these two areas, there will be a lot of good for you in the future as you start taking care of yourself through what you need to do and what you want to do. The two areas of responsibility and pleasure can be pretty vague, but with the 6 dimensions of wellness, you may be able to figure out what you may need to explore. We have the physical, emotional, intellectual, social, occupational, and spiritual dimensions of wellness. The physical is pretty self-explanatory, which includes taking care of your physical needs, such as exercising regularly, eating healthy meals, taking necessary supplements or medications, scheduling regular doctor's appointments and checkups, and even simpler tasks like fixing your sleep routine, your skincare, or taking care of your living space. For the emotional dimension, it involves being aware of and knowing how to manage and accept your emotions in healthy ways. Going for therapy would be a prime example of this dimension in order to learn more about your emotional self-care. But habits like practicing relaxation and emotion coping skills, journaling, communicating your needs to others, and knowing how to self-soothe after a bad day are also key to improving in this dimension. The intellectual dimension involves the creative and stimulating mental activities, such as pursuing knowledge or interests, learning more about culture, the world, your own experiences, or bettering your skills, and challenging your mind. Examples could include learning new skills through an online course, keeping up with news, and exploring new games like chess, Sudoku, or puzzles. The social dimension includes not only your interpersonal relationships, but your relationship with your community or society. Improving and cultivating friendships, learning healthy communication with your partner, or contributing to your community's needs like donations or volunteering are all part of this dimension as well. The occupational dimension recognizes personal satisfaction and enrichment in your life through the work you do. Choosing to embark on a career that aligns to your values, interests, and beliefs would be fulfilling this dimension, rather than a career that only provides a good income and leaves you feeling stressed and burnt out. Last but not least, the spiritual dimension of wellness, which is the search for meaning and purpose in our lives. It includes faith, religion, belief systems, or even the pursuit of knowledge in order to live your life consistently with your values, rather than finding conflict in the differences between yourself and others. Although this is already pretty wide and covers many areas of wellness, it is not limited to the examples I've shared. Self-care can come in many different forms, which could take some time to figure out, but I assure you it will be worth it. As I shared about the dimensions of wellness, some of these areas may have been relatable to you. The question now is, what have you been neglecting? Which area were you putting off for a while? Have you been working overtime and you have little time for much else? Maybe you focused a lot on contributing socially by being a caregiver to your family, children, or elderly parents, and you've not spent much time on yourself. It's possible that something already struck a nerve with you, and you're now wondering, what should you do then? To start working on self-care, we need to be aware of what exactly we need. Take into account, what are you neglecting, and what do you need at the moment? It's helpful for you to start at the basics for your health, because these form the foundation of having enough energy and resources to provide into the other dimensions you want to focus on. Some important areas are sleep and relaxation, which leads to better energy and overall mood, regular exercise and healthy eating, which are both linked to energy and mood as well. Starting on your medical needs could be helpful, so you know what to start with. Consulting a doctor or going for a health screening would be a helpful indication of what you should focus on at the moment. For example, finding out that your cholesterol levels are quite risky would mean that you need to shift your priorities to taking care of your exercise and fitness, your diet to reduce certain foods, and your stress management to make sure that there isn't a risk of neglecting your physical health when you are stressed with work or personal issues. Now, for the fun part, let's make it happen. For any self-care change, we need to fit it into our daily routines. Otherwise, it can become a one-off activity that we forget about for the next 3 months. I'm sure you may have experienced that before. Again, it's all about balance, this time with your time and energy. Making sure you carve out time to include self-care would be helpful as you start purposefully scheduling self-care into your day. Put it on your calendar and set reminders if you are not that great with time management. Next, figure out your energy levels and where your energy is going. Making sure that you have enough energy for your daily needs and self-care would be excellent in making sure it happens. That would mean that you may need to evaluate if you are working overtime or spending too long commuting, or even giving a lot of energy to friends who only rant and complain about their days. It's helpful to reduce some of this so that you have enough energy for your self-care activities. If you're having difficulty with time and energy, it's time to look at your boundaries, values, and decisions. In your personal boundaries, maybe you've been saying yes to additional work tasks or social requests, which takes up both your time and energy. Reflect on what this is doing and enforce healthy boundaries by saying no. Take a look at your values as well, if it is difficult to enforce your boundaries. What are you placing importance on right now? Is it your career and ambition, or your family, or your self-development, or other values? Then finally, based on your values and your boundaries, it is necessary to make the tough decisions to make sure you have the time and energy to take care of yourself. If your work has been very harmful to your physical health, self-esteem, and emotional health, it may be time to leave. If you are struggling with a romantic relationship for years, you may need to have a long and painful discussion about it with your partner and make a choice that benefits your mental health. Whatever decision it is, it would be towards your self-care and well-being. Even if you are not at a place for ample time and energy, you can still fit in easier acts of self-care, which probably take less than 30 minutes each. Some of these are also great as stepping stones to including self-care into your daily routine. Have a good breakfast, write about your day with some journaling, go for a 15-minute walk in the greenery of a nearby park, head to bed to sleep on time each day, call and set your long overdue medical or dental checkups, practice some simple meditation such as sitting in a comfortable spot and counting with your breaths for 5 minutes, and drink enough water by having a water bottle near you. Easy enough, right? If you take anything away from this sharing, I hope it will be just trying one of these activities today. When it comes to self-care in the long run, making sure we know what we want to prioritize, creating enough time and energy for these activities, and figuring out what we value as important all comes together to help you maintain your self-care habits and routines. I myself struggled with exercise for a very long time, and making it a part of self-care for me was not easy. After high school, I neglected physical activity, only on occasion when I went dancing or played a fun game of badminton with my family or friends. Over the years, I noticed a cycle of getting a gym membership, being able to go for a workout regularly, and then when I saw little to no results in my weight or appearance, I stopped going. This happened even with just exercising at home, with things like Pilates, HIIT, yoga, just plain walking even, you name it. Eventually, I came to a realization that I don't have interest in these kinds of physical activities, and if I wanted something to stick, it needed to be interesting to me. I also acknowledged that I was looking at fitness as a means to an end, to achieve some sort of weight or appearance goal. Instead, I should be looking at it as a form of self-care. Choosing to do regular physical activity was a way of taking care of myself, and I didn't need to attach a goal or achievement to it. This changed my perspective. I started enjoying regular exercise because I switched it up. Sometimes I still walk, yes, but I walk with someone now. I play badminton frequently with my family. Dancing and learning choreography is exciting to me as well. And my current favorite is roller skating, which I keep telling people about, and now I have a bunch of friends to keep me accountable to continue. By choosing to do something to take care of myself without worrying about the outcome, I have been able to maintain a regular amount of healthy exercise for the past year. And I'm sure you can do it too. If you find yourself in a rut and losing track of your self-care, here are some tips to keep it going. In the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, 2 main points were firstly, the reminder that the tiny 1% change you make today may not feel like much, but over time, this 1% adds up, and you have made a significant change to your habits. This can motivate us to stay on track with self-care, even if it doesn't feel like we're doing anything with the small changes we make today. Secondly, it is important to focus on the process, not the outcome. Being mindful of how you fit self-care into your daily routine will help you form systems. These systems can help you to be consistent because now your new habit of exercising after work is paired with driving to the gym after work, not to your home. Remember that consistency is more important than achievements. Re-exploring your values will also be super helpful to keep you on track. Remind yourself why you started doing this self-care activity. Perhaps you wanted to focus on your health and living a healthy life with your family, which led you to daily jogging. Maybe you value ambition, and you know you can progress in your career if you were more resilient and confident, which led you to journaling and practicing emotional coping skills daily. Whatever your value is, use it to remind yourself that these activities are to help you align your life with these values, not to achieve a fleeting goal. And lastly, accountability helps to play a part. It's far easier to let go of certain self-care activities when no one knows you are doing them. Start including others into your journey. Tell your family members or friends about your self-care. This helps us to be more accountable with the time and energy we are putting into self-care versus just work. Plus, it's always nice to hear encouragement from others, but they can only do this if you've told them about your efforts. Remember, self-care can be as easy as you want it to be and as helpful as you need it to be. Balancing your priorities and needs will get you to starting self-care, and values and consistency will help you keep this new habit in your life. Start small, but know that you will reap huge benefits later. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you can start on your self-care journey today.